Hey guys, anybody here? I'm a couple minutes early, so just while I'm waiting for folks to come on, just so you know what I'm talking about today is creating and completing a kit based on the templates that we created yesterday in our training session, and how to print it, how to send it, how do you get it to DocuSign, all that kind of good stuff. And also, there was a great question yesterday about additional forms, so I will touch on where that will be and how to find those extra forms if you need them. Okay. Hey Patrick, how you doing? Very well, thanks. Very well, thanks. Hey, Wendy, how you doing today? Morning, Dave.
Hello there.
How you doing today?
Pretty good.
You got a nice camera on that computer. Mine's very potato quality.
That's what she said. Well, sorry, Patrick, Wendy, Harry. Didn't realize you were there.
Hey, Harry. Barb. Okay, looks like the clock says it's 11 o'clock now, so I'm going to get started. People can continue to join as we go along here, and I'm going to mute everybody for the moment. If you want to talk in the partway through the presentation, if you have a question to ask, Andrew taught us yesterday morning. If you hold down the space bar, that will unmute you temporarily, kind of like a walkie-talkie. Hold down your space bar. You can ask a question, and I will try to answer them as we go. So I'm going to go ahead and hit share screen here and show you what I'm working on in WebForms. Excuse me. Okay. So inside WebForms, yesterday we went through the process of creating a template kit. Now, we didn't put all of the forms in there that you might necessarily need, but we did go through the process of creating a template and adding some forms to it. Did anybody have any follow-up questions on that from yesterday? No? Okay. All right, so today what I want to do again is go through the process of creating a transaction, or what we used to call a kit, for a transaction kit from a template. So I'm going to make the assumption that you've got some template kits created, and when you log into WebForms, this is what you're going to see. You're going to be on the member dashboard, and right below that, the big blue button that says Create Transaction is where we're going to go first today. So we're going to create a transaction. You can see here the only mandatory field is the name of the transaction. Okay, now you can name these however you like. My brain works in addresses, so when I was actively trading, I used to put an address on these. So I'm going to call this 100 Any Street, just for fun. And because we're using templates, and that was part of the exercise that we went through yesterday, was to learn how to create a template. We're going to do that again today, but keep in mind, you can build a transaction kit. Excuse me, I got a frog in my throat today. You can build a transaction kit from scratch. You don't need to use a template. So every time you go in here, and quite honestly, this is the way I ran my business. I did them from scratch every single time because every deal was different. But if we're going to use a template, right here where it says none, there's a drop down. Hit that drop down arrow. And the kit we created yesterday, the template we created, was City Res Purchase Part 2. That's the one I did for myself as part of this example. So I'm going to choose that as my template so that the system will know which forms to insert into this kit based on that template. okay? There is a button here that says import data and it says optional. There should be a big red danger sign on this. What you can do here is choose Peterborough and put in an MLS number for a property that you might want to create this kit on. Now, here's the risk. You will be able to auto-populate some of the data in the fields if you do this, but garbage in is garbage out. You've heard me say this a million times. If somebody else's listing is incorrect and you are in too much of a rush to check the data to make sure that the information they've supplied is correct, then your kit is going to be incorrect and everybody's getting sued. So just keep that in mind, okay? And I just remembered I forgot to set my timer. I only have a limited amount of time on this, so let's just see here. There we go. Add me as the. This is important to fill this one out too, okay? Make sure that you, if you're the listing salesperson, you put yourself down as a listing salesperson or cooperating, whatever it might be. What that does for you is it actually fills in on the offer form where it says, you know, which brokerage is which. It'll actually fill that information in on the confirmation of cooperation and other forms where it should be showing that information. If you choose this as cooperating, it put your information in the correct places. If you don't, if you say neither, then or leave it blank, nothing will happen. But make sure you put yourself down as the correct version there. And I always, as I said yesterday, I don't use the wizard, so leave that unchecked. So I've got my basic information here. I'm going to click create, and in the background, the system is creating a new transaction kit based on the forms in the template that I created yesterday. Okay. Any questions on that so far? Pretty basic. Okay. Remember, press your space bar and talk if you need to ask a question. All right, so my kit is now created. My transaction kit has been created based on the template. You can see here, it's got the address here, so I know I'm in a new template, or excuse me, in a new kit. And what you see in front of you here, this is the wizard, okay? We don't like the wizard, at least I don't. To me, it's too confusing. So how do I get to my forms? Well, on the right-hand side, you'll see some options here. This one right in the middle says forms. When I click that, it's going to show me the forms in this kit, okay? Again, based on the template that I created yesterday. So you would go through and click the title of any one of these forms that you wanted to edit, okay? In the interest of time today, I'm going to go to the agreement of purchase and sale first, okay? So all I did was click on the title of the form to open it up. All right, so now we're filling in an agreement of purchase and sale in WebForms. Again, why I like this WebForms better than Easy Offer or better than the wizard that is part of WebForms is what you see is what you get. I'm actually seeing what the finished product will look like. Save and accept these blue boxes that you see here. These are just to tell me that these fields can be completed. So I love being able to see, have I completed all of the fields? Does it make sense? You know, is it in the right order? All that kind of good stuff. So starting at the top of the page, this agreement of purchase and sale dated this blank day of blank. There's a little calendar option here. When I click that, the calendar pops up and then I can choose the specific date that I'm creating this form. So I just clicked on the date and it filled it in for me, okay? Some little things you gotta watch in this version of WebForms. When you're putting your buyers' names in here, on the old system, it was one long field where you would type in, you know, buyer one's name and you would type the word and then the second buyer's name. In this system, you have to put this, if there are two buyers, one here and one here. Okay, so I'm going to say buyer one right here, put buyer two right here. Okay, there is a drop down in the middle where I can choose to use the ampersand if I want. Okay. I would, if I was you, put that in there. And then you're going to fill in the information for the sellers from the listing that you pulled out of the MLS system and verified using what other means you have available to you, Geo Warehouse, surveys, other additional information, okay? So you would go through and complete each of these fields. Again, just filling in the blanks on this form. Here's what I want to draw your attention to. Having a frontage of, and more or less by a depth of blank. So what goes in here? The measurements, right? So the frontage and depth of the property. What I'm seeing a lot of recently, guys, is this 100 by 200. What's missing? The measurement. What's the unit of measurement? Is it meters? Is it feet, rods, chains? What is it? You have to identify. Is it 100 feet? Put 100 feet. okay? And I really don't think we should be using short forms. Even though it's convention out there, we might put FT for feet. Spell out the word feet, in my opinion. Don't use apostrophes like that. That, in my mind, is not correct. That's a shorthand that we use, and it's not a legal term. So actually spell out the word feet, okay? Any questions on that? I've seen a ton of offers recently where the measurement is actually missing entirely. So please watch yourselves on that. That can get you in a lot of trouble because the buyer could claim later that, well, I thought it was 100 meters. We live in Canada, don't we? We're metric here, right? So if it's 100 feet versus 100 meters, that's a massive difference and you can get yourself in a lot of trouble. So fill it in correctly. Okay. Legal description, price. This is just as it always has been. You know that you're going to have the price in numbers and dollar and numbers and words. So I'm going to fill in the numbers here, and it automatically puts in the words for me. Okay. Deposit herewith upon acceptance as otherwise described. This is a drop down, so you can choose which option you'd like. In this version, in the old version, you used to be able to type in this line. You can't anymore. Now you have to choose one of these options. Okay. So upon acceptance, typically is what we're doing in this marketplace, and we're going to put our deposit amount here and the listing brokerages and information here. Okay. Going down to irrevocability. I know you guys know how to fill this stuff in, but just there's a drop down here. It makes it real easy for you. Okay. Irrevocable by whom. You can put in the date here using the calendar drop down again, but you can type in these fields. The time. Here's another thing I'm seeing. People are putting in here 8 and then leaving it blank. Is it what 8 what? So this is just my little idiosyncrasy. Put the :00 and be sure in this version you have to use a checkbox down here. Make sure you put PM here, okay? Just so everybody knows it's clear. All right. I'm going to keep scrolling down. Sherry Henning. That's interesting. Okay, so this is the signature page. Something else, see, when I put myself in as the cooperating broker, you see what it did? It put in my information here, right? So if I hadn't done that, this would be blank, and then I would have to type it in. The issue people are finding with WebForms is if they don't select cooperating brokerage or listing brokerage and it doesn't fill these in, even when they type it in on one of the forms, it isn't always carrying through to the others. So it's very important at the beginning when you're creating this kit that you indicate which side of the transaction you're on or both. Okay. The acknowledgement section. This is what I'm seeing a lot of people getting this filled out in advance of the offer being accepted. That is incorrect, guys. This says, I acknowledge receipt of my signed copy of this accepted agreement of purchase and sale, and I authorize the brokerage to forward a copy to my lawyer. Filling this out in advance is, quite frankly, laziness. It's not correct. So make sure you do this after the deal has been accepted, okay? Robert, did you have a question?
No.
Okay. Could you mute yourself, please?
I don't know how to do that.
Let me just see what I can do here. There we go. Now you're muted. Okay, I'm going to carry on. Go down to Schedule A. This is the meat and potatoes, right? This is where we start spelling out the specifics of this contract. Okay, so yesterday when I created my template kit, I put in 3 clauses in my template so that they would appear in every transaction that I created based on that template from that point forward. So here's where I have to go in and start actually making some changes. So because I'm making an offer today, I'm going to have, you know, a conditional period for financing, and I've got to start filling in some blanks here. So I'm going to type in here, I want this to be a first mortgage. Okay. And I've got to put in a time. So I'm going to say 5 p.m. on April 16th, 2020, just as an example, okay? I got a question for you guys. When people are putting in here 10 p.m. on a financing condition, are the banks working that late or am I missing something? No? You got, what time are you guys using? What was that, Dave?
6 p.m.
6 p.m. Yeah, that makes more sense to me. 5 or 6 o'clock. They call it banker's hours for a reason, right? So I don't know why people are putting 10 o'clock on there, because if you put 10 o'clock, you give a mouse a cookie, he's going to want a glass of milk, right? So your buyer's going to want to wait till 10 o'clock in some cases to get this complete. So put a reasonable time frame on there, because I like to go home to have dinner with my family. I hope you guys do too. So that's my suggestion there. Okay, so the rest of the clauses is exactly the same thing, right? Now, this might not be complete. There might be additional clauses that I might need for this specific property, right? This property, perhaps this property, maybe there's a water purification system, or maybe there's a hot tub or something like that, and I want to put in some kind of a warranty or additional clauses. I can still do that. Just because I'm working from a template doesn't mean that I can't make changes to this. I can add additional clauses here still, okay? Let me just check my time. Okay, doing great. So we can still add additional clauses here. So at the top, I'm going to hit the clause button, and we can search the database for clauses and add more to it, right? So if I wanted to do chattel warranty, for example, and you start typing the word chattel, check that clause. Yep, that's the one I want. Select the clause and then click OK to add it into my offer. Okay, so I would go through and make sure that all the additional clauses I might need specific to this deal have been added to my contract. Something else that I often talk about here is how to make your offer stand out against the competition. If you look at the rest of the offer, the clauses are numbered and titled. In this section, why not do the same thing? This is something Bill Pyle taught to me years ago. Number 1, pay the balance, right? Then I'm go down to the next clause here. Number 2, buyer's financing condition, right? And just continue down the list and do that. Number 3, number 4, whatever I need to do, right? And then if I'm presenting that offer to a seller and they have a question for me, you know, you said something about getting financing for this property. Where was that again? And then I can say to the seller, well, if you would go to page 6 of 6, clause number 2, buyer's financing condition, I'd be happy to talk you through that again, Mr. Seller. So it's a really great way to have your offer stand out against the competition. Okay. A few people have taken me up on this, and I got to tell you, it stands out. And I've actually had comments back from people saying, "Wow, these offers are great. They're easy to read." So, just something to contemplate doing. Okay, so that's filling out an offer. Do you guys have any questions on how to do that? How to go through that process? I know not everybody's doing their own offers yet. Some people are still having the front desk do them, and that's fantastic. If you want to continue that way, no problem. But if you want to do your own, this is how you do it. So any questions on this before I move on? Okay. All right. So I'm done. I've created my kit. Now I might want to do something with it, right? So I'm going to go back to my dashboard. So here's that transaction kit that I just created. Just a couple things as we're looking at this, just the navigation of this. If I want to look at the forms within any kit, the simplest way to do it is to choose the kit name and click it and open that kit. But you'll see over here it says forms and documents. This forms pane is every form in every kit that I've ever created in this version of WebForms. Okay, so they're all in here. It's just a jumbled mess. It goes in reverse order of time from the most recently created. But if you're trying to find something you built a couple of weeks ago, this is not the way to get to it. Honestly, this is going to be way too complicated. I would always use the transaction section. This documents area, frankly, you guys aren't going to use this very often. You can store individual documents associated with kits in your documents here, but to me, it's more trouble than it's worth, and I'm trying to keep this easy for you. So I'm going to click on the name of the transaction. Okay. Now I'm within the transaction looking at something very similar. This is the overview of what's contained within the kit, you know, the details, some of the pertinent details about the offer. And on this side, these are the forms within that kit, just that one kit. Okay. Again, below, no documents because I haven't added any and I haven't created any checklists. Again, checklists are something that you're not going to use very often inside WebForms. For those offices that don't have staff to help them out, the smaller operations, some of them might be using this to help them because they don't have actual help. So forms are here. If I want to interact with my forms, let's say I wanted to print some forms or email them, do something like that, I'm going to go over here to the right, because I'm in this 100 Any Street kit. I'm going to click Forms on the right-hand side. And there's my list of forms. So I'm going to pretend as though I had completed all of these forms and I need to send them for signature, or some of them for signature, okay? So process of working with a buyer. I meet with my buyer. I have my buyer consultation. I go through the benefits of having representation. I get them to sign working with a realtor, the buyer representation agreement, and I fill out the FinTrack forms in advance. Then I go show properties, and they decide on one they like. I go back to the office and I fill out my confirmation of cooperation and my agreement of purchase and sale, which I then need to get signatures on. So I might be meeting them in person, so I need a printed copy. I might be sending it via DocuSign. In either case, this is the starting point. So I open the kit, click on forms, and then I'm going to choose the forms that I need to interact with in some way, okay? By clicking this little circle here, select, select. And you'll see this basket lights up and there's a 2 on it telling me I've selected 2 of the forms in the kit. Now, if I want to do something with those 2 forms, I click on the basket, okay? So it shows me the forms that I've selected again. And across the top, these are all the different things I can do with those forms. How I can manipulate them in some fashion, okay? So the first option here is DocuSign, send a third-party vendor. So that's DocuSign in my case, because that's the one I use. I can make a copy of it. I can download them in a single compressed zip folder. I can print them. So if I was going to meet my clients in person, this is what I would do. I would click print, choose the appropriate printer, have them come out on hard copy, and then go meet with my client. Not a good idea today. You've got to do it to maintain our social distancing, so that's probably not wise today. But you might print them and then mail them to them, or drop them off and say, give me a couple hours and I'll be back to pick them up, leave them outside, and I'll come and get them. Or you can download them as separate PDFs. You can email to your client. So yesterday when I talked about setting your settings, your global settings inside WebForms, one of them was send as attachment or send as a link. If I click this email button, because I chose send as attachments, it will create an email and send those 2 forms as attachments to that email. Believe it or not, I can send via fax from right within WebForms. If I click that button, I can actually send these forms to a fax machine. Or if I've decided I no longer need these forms in this kit, I can just hit the trash can and delete them, okay? So that's how I would choose forms within the kit to manipulate and do something else with. Any questions on that before I move on? No? Okay. All right. I'm just going to deselect those forms. Yesterday, we also talked about sharing and using Teams, so that if you create a kit and you feel that you might need some assistance from either a person who's going to be covering your business while you're on vacation, or you've actually formed a team, or you want the front desk to be able to do things for you. So you want Louisa or Chrissy to be able to make some changes to a kit for you, add a form, delete a form, maybe do an amendment, get it ready for you, that kind of stuff. Here's where you do it. Right here where it says menu, and then I'm going to go to Teams and Share. I'm going to choose a team that I want to share this with. So I have a few of these set up for testing purposes. So I'm going to say front desk, and then I choose this arrow to add them, and then I would click save. Okay. Now this kit that I've just created here has now been shared with the front desk. So Louisa could go into WebForms right now, look up 100 Any Street, and next to it would say shared by Doug Lytle. Okay. And she would be able to go in here and modify any of these forms, add additional forms, create amendments, whatever I needed her to do, okay? If you're going on vacation and you set up, maybe Dave and Jeremy are going to work together. So Dave creates the kit, shares it to Jeremy so he can cover for him while he's on vacation. But after vacation, he comes back and he says, Jeremy, thanks very much. I'm going to take over this kit again. I'll run with it. You can go back in, again, in the same kit. So I'm back in this 100 Any Street kit, click the menu, go to Teams and Sharing again, and you can see front desk is seeing that. So it would be Jeremy in this instance. I would click that and then use the back arrow, remove, and click save. And now it's no longer shared. Okay, so if Dave had shared this with Jeremy while he was on vacation, he comes back and unshares it, Jeremy can no longer access it. Okay, so I think that's a pretty useful tool. This is something we didn't have in the old web forms, but it's pretty powerful. I've seen a few people using this already, and I know our front desk is doing it when they're creating kits for folks. They're sharing them with those agents automatically and sharing it amongst themselves. The front desk is sharing kits with each other in every case, so that when they work on a kit, let's say Louisa starts one and she goes home at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, whoever's working the evening shift during normal times would be able to access that on your behalf to make changes to it. Okay. Any questions on that? I think it's a great tool. Dave, go ahead.
Yeah, how do you set up a team, a person in there, an agent?
Okay, let me show you how to do that again. Okay, hang on. So I'm going to go here to setup. And then right here next to that, it says teams and sharing. I'm going to click that. And these are all the teams that I've created inside my web forms. Okay. If you haven't done this yet, this will be blank. Okay. So you click add on the top corner here, give it a name. So this might be, your vacation sharing, for example. Okay. Click save to start the team. And then you've got to put some people in here, right? So when I land here, it's giving me the team share name is vacation sharing. Oh, there's an option here, by the way, too. This says automatically share transactions. If I click that, then new transactions that I create and associate with this team they'll get a notification. Okay, so I'm going to uncheck that. So I will go down here. These are all the people in our office, right? So I want to create a vacation sharing with Jeremy. I'm just going to start typing Jeremy's name, and he pops up right there. Okay, so I hit the checkbox next to his name. Scroll down to the bottom. Oh, I've got to move this out of the way. Click add members, and then you'll see on the right-hand side, Jeremy pops up here and it says transaction permissions full. That means he has full capability to add and remove forms and to edit the forms I've already created. Okay. And if I click allow impersonation, that means he can actually create them and my name would still show up on them as if I had created them instead of Jeremy. Okay. Then I go to the top and click save settings. And now I've created that vacation sharing. So if I go back, you with me so far, Dave?
Yep.
Okay. So I go back to the dashboard. I'm going to choose the kit that I was working on. So 100 Annie Street. I'm going to go to the menu within that kit, choose teams and share. And I've created my vacation sharing right here. So I click that, add it, and then click save. Okay. Now, and since we're live here, Jeremy, you could, if you wanted to log in, you could actually log in right now and see that kit. Okay. Not that I'm suggesting you should, but you could right now because it's live. So I've gone on my vacation, I've come back, and I'm going to say, you know what? Thanks so much, Jeremy, for your help. I don't need you to do that for me anymore. I click remove, save, and then he wouldn't have access to that anymore. So was that helpful, Dave? Is that
Yeah.
Does
it then on the sort of the home page, does it show up under transaction kits as a shared folder?
No, it shows up just in my list of kits, and on my side, let me share that again just to show you what it looks like. Okay. So vacation sharing, add, save. So when I go back to my dashboard, 100 Annie Street is here, but it doesn't indicate on mine that it's been shared with anybody. Okay. If Jeremy were to log into his right now, it would pop up 100 Annie Street would show up in his list of transactions, and right next to it would say shared by Doug Lytle.
Okay, that's where.
Okay?
So that's where it shows up then.
Yeah. Okay. So you can see here, I've got I'm not sure why this Cole and Tamer, why they've shared these with me, but they have. Or maybe it was the front desk shared them with me. I'm not sure. Anyhow, so I'm going to go back in here again and just for demonstration purposes, remove that sharing. Okay. Okay, let me just have to check my time again. We're good. Got about 6 minutes left, according to my little timer here. So did you guys have any more questions?
So it's actually a pretty neat feature, because if I did need you to have a look at something, I could just pass it off to you. You could review it and then send me a message. That's pretty neat.
Yeah, it's a really useful feature, I think.
So it's designed to be shared just with in-house agents?
Yeah, it's only within our office. In fact, we ran into a bit of an issue, quite frankly, with our branch offices being able to share this, and there's a workaround that the front desk has to use. So if you're associated with the Peterborough office, you can only share with people in the Peterborough office. If you're in the Bridgenorth office, then you can only share with the Bridgenorth office. So there is a workaround, and frankly, I can't recall how to do it. Louisa knows how to do it. So if you wanted to share with Patrick, for example, in Nomini, there's a workaround to make it happen. But it doesn't show up in the same list.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. DocuSign. I should show everybody how to connect their DocuSign accounts before in the next couple of minutes here. So to do that, you click the App Store on the left-hand side here. So it's right near the bottom. Click Apps, and then you'll see right here the various kinds of electronic signature companies. So right now mine says unlink because my DocuSign account is already linked. So here's what you'd see the first time you logged in, okay? You'd see this green button under DocuSign if you're using it. Click the link button and it's gonna go to the sign-in page on DocuSign. I've got to put, and it knows it's me, right? So it's got my address. If it asks for your login information, then you would put in your email address and then your password, okay? Then you click login and it's gonna send me back to WebForms. And then it will say unlink. So I'll know that my DocuSign account is attached to my WebForms account, okay? So that if I go and look at a form within one of my kits, so I'm gonna select working with a realtor, okay? And then choose the basket again. So I selected the forms within the kit, select the form that I want to interact with, and then choose the basket. Then I choose send to third-party vendor, DocuSign. It's actually sending that form to DocuSign for me to now interact with. And if I had chosen more than one, it just puts them in the order that I selected them down. When we get here, I'll show you what I mean. Sorry guys, my internet is not fantastic here. So it sometimes takes longer than I would like it to. Okay, so there's my form in DocuSign. I would add my recipients here. If I decided at this point I needed to add another form to this, I can go. So if it's a document that's saved on my computer, for example, a Schedule B from another office, I can click the document settings, edit documents, and then add right here, upload additional forms, okay? But that's it. So I'm just going back to my WebForms page, okay? Let's see here, if I'm in forms, if I open my agreement of purchase and sale, little navigation trick for you. Not a trick, but a tool. So I'm opening up the agreement of purchase and sale within this kit, and I decide, oh, I need to make a change to another form in the kit. And I don't have to go all the way back to the beginning to the dashboard and open the kit again. At the top, there's a transaction forms button, this house. If I click that, there's all the other forms in that specific kit. And then I can choose the title of the form that I want to go to, and then it jumps directly to that form. So I'm still working inside that same kit. Okay. All right, the last thing I wanted to mention to you today was we had a great question yesterday from Crystal on additional forms that are at the office that you guys might need to use over the next little while. Things like sign orders. If you're doing a listing, you might need the the seller information sheet for the front desk to enter the information in. So I've got Constantine sent me scans of all those forms, including and Kayla sent me the transaction sheets, all that kind of stuff. I'm going to put it in one folder in the Google Drive, and when I upload the video of this presentation to the Facebook group, I'll put the link there, and I'm going to share that link with everybody via email as well. So you'll have one source to go to for all those additional forms that you might need. Okay. So I hope that's helpful. That way you can,
yeah, good idea. Good.
You can get to all that stuff. Okay. Any other questions on this before I stop my screen share here?
Hello, Doug.
Barb, then Dave.
Hi, Doug. I just wanted to see if that button worked. Thanks.
Oh, okay.
So I'll take it off now.
Okay. Go ahead, Dave.
Early on with offers, I noticed inserting clauses, they would run together when you insert them.
Yeah.
Is that still happening, or was that
No.
fixed?
No, it seems to be working fairly smoothly now. Now,
Yeah.
having said that, it's hit and miss for some people, but for me, it seems to be working right now.
Yeah, I haven't noticed it lately, but I know it was prevalent.
Yeah.
Early
The other
on
thing
there.
that's still occurring for some people is when they add, when they try to take somebody's name off, they've started the process and they want to take one of these names out of here, and the system keeps dropping it back in, or they think they've deleted it. When they go to print it, it shows up again. I'm running up on my time here. There is on the right-hand side inside the kit. How do I get back to my kit? So I'm going to choose this kit. There's additional options down the side here, right? I go to forms on a regular basis because that's what I want to do is interact with the forms. But there's one here that says contacts right here.
Mm-hmm.
And these contacts are the people that I've entered into the form in some place. So what I'm finding is sometimes people will delete somebody from the form, but they still show up here in these contacts. So you can actually go in here and then delete that contact entirely.
Interesting.
So go to the basket because I've selected that one, and then delete that contact. And now they're gone. So when I go back to my forms, that person should be completely out of the form.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and they're not. So it's still buggy. There's still issues with this thing, but that's kind of where they're going with this. Is that contacts record on the side is supposed to be where you can edit that stuff. So again, I apologize. It's it's not a C21 tool. This is Korea that has done this. We're still trying to grow along with them on this. Okay.
Yeah, just one more if I can.
Sure.
This may have been from yesterday that I missed. When we first were learning, there was some direction where to watch that you don't get extra pages inserted into your form.
That's been corrected.
That's been corrected. Okay.
That has been corrected. So that's we're down to Schedule A here. And at the time when they first brought this system out, you had to choose. I want an agreement of purchase and sale with one Schedule A page, or 2 or 3. And if you just selected one page and you had too many clauses, it just shrunk them into a tiny little ball of like a wall of text, right? So I was telling people then, choose the agreement with multiple pages on Schedule A and then delete the ones you don't need. But they've corrected that, so you don't need to worry about that anymore. If you do run out of space, the buttons are still here at the top. So there's an add page button. So if I click this and say yes, don't freak out when it first pops up, the stuff disappears, but it comes back. There it is. Okay, now when I go back, and I go down to the bottom, and now it says page, there's 7 pages. So there's my Schedule A that I was working on, and here's another blank Schedule A. Okay, see page 7 of 7. So I can add that, it renumbers everything, and then I can delete the last page, right, by clicking that. Are you sure you want to remove? Yes. So that's been corrected, Dave. Okay, any other questions?
Can I just ask a question? It's Wendy.
Sure, Wendy, go ahead.
I have a template that has both documents and forms. How do I upload both documents and forms into DocuSign?
I don't know how to get the documents into DocuSign, quite frankly. I've been asked that question a few times, and I don't know how to do it. So what I'm telling people is don't use the document storage in WebForms. Create folders on your computer with those documents that you might need. It might be a Schedule B. It might be a floor plan. It might be something else that you might want to attach to an agreement. Keep those on your computer, and then when you go to DocuSign, that little edit button on the right-hand side, right here, where it says documents, and you click this little gear and then click edit documents. upload them here. So don't worry about trying to store them inside WebForms. It's a red herring as far as I'm concerned. It's too complicated. I don't understand how to get it to work. This is the simplest way that I know how to do it. Click upload, choose those files from your computer, and then carry on from there. Okay, that makes sense?
Yes,
Okay,
thank you.
you're very welcome. Okay, guys, I am about out of time here, so I'm gonna have to call it the end there, and we'll talk to you soon. Okay, have a great day.